These tickets for you. Be caller 10, and you and a friend will go. Good luck. 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
Now you can enjoy that sickening middle of the night. What am I gonna do with my life? Feeling in the afternoon.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMMS.
Another keyword in about 6 minutes for you to go fund yourself $1,000. So listen to that keyword here in a couple. Hey, Ryan Singer is here. You were with us a long time ago, I think. It's been a long time ago, I feel like. You were sitting in at the old studio.
The old suburbs,
Old
the burbs.
burbs. Right. You're an Ohio guy.
Oh, yeah, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio?
937. 937,
Yeah,
baby.
very exciting.
Home of the Flyers and the Wright brothers and Paul Lawrence Dunbar and the Ice Cube tray.
Is that where the ice cube tray was
the
invented?
guy who invented the ice cube tray, and also Charles Kettering, who I believe invented the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Little did we know that he would destroy the earth.
Well, we have a guy.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Air conditioning is so great.
To be comfortable.
I love it.
We have this old guy that calls us all the time, Dick from Dayton. He calls every radio station. And so I've been here a dozen years, and he calls all the time, and he plays the banjo in a group called the Kettering Banjo Society. It's very literal. And so Kettering will always make me think of that.
I grew up literally specifically in Kettering.
Well, he's old, so maybe the Kettering Banjo Society predates you.
Is this my grandfather?
I don't.
No, he's never had any kids.
No kids at all.
He's got he's retired from Lowe's. He worked at Lowe's for 25 years as a shopping cart wrangler and other odd jobs. And then he plays the banjo, and he also plays what was the one that he played for Mary?
The dulcimer, right? Or the lute or something. A variety of stringed instruments from old-timey land.
Like the Italian
mandolin?
one. Mandolin, yeah.
The mandolin.
Mary was at Wiley's, and he breaks out his mandolin, and he talks about playing in these bands all the time, and he starts playing this thing, and he is trash. He's garbage at it.
I just imagine like Mary's performing, and then you just hear a mandolin from the audience. You're like, what's happening? It's like, oh, it's Dick from Kettering. Or,
Dick
right.
from Dayton, yeah.
And so he's not good at it.
Here, listen to this real quick.
Let's see that beautiful thing. Wow. Give us a little something.
Yeah,
Gets a
tune it
slightly
up,
better from there, but not
No,
much better.
let him get into it a little bit.
Oh, you want me to let him get into it?
Yeah, let him
Okay.
get into it a little bit, because I think that
let me pull
really
this over
sets
here.
the stage for it.
Okay.
I see it. Let's see that.
And the weather, they get out of tune.
Yeah.
Pretty good now. Let me tell you a story about
Oh, wait, I didn't know there was going to be singing.
Oh, yeah. It's his vocal accompaniment there is. Anyway.
Oh, my God.
The point is, I'm so happy that there's somebody else who can represent Kettering.
Right.
I'm happy to take that mantle from
Yeah.
Dick from Dayton. Hey, Dick from Dayton, if you're listening, hey, we're all together in this in Southern Ohio.
Did you go through I feel like last time we saw you, last time I saw you, maybe Bill's seen you since, but I feel like last time you were on the show was a long time ago, and that you looked different. Did you let your freak flag fly between then and now?
I probably
Was there
had much shorter hair back then. Because
I think that's what I was thinking of.
I think you had the longer hair. I think you had a beard.
Oh, I just
A
shaved
beard,
my
okay.
beard a few days ago, and I
Okay.
think it was a mistake. Because I went over to see my mom
always
and
is.
stepdad just like literally yesterday.
Well, and it's 40 degrees.
And the first thing my stepdad says to me, he goes, "You look like you're putting on weight." And I was like, I'm 46 years old.
Yeah.
You're trying to weight shame me right
Yeah.
now? And then
The
as
beard
I'm leaving,
obscures.
he's trying to give me a party-sized bag of peanut M&Ms. I was like, you're sending me mixed messages here, Pops. Like, what's
Yeah.
happening? You're going to call me fat and then try to sugar me up?
yeah.
But like,
I don't need a pillowcase full of candy to send me on my way.
I've had a beard for probably 15 years.
Maybe that's what
I've
I'm
always
thinking
known you
of.
with, well, we did a contest in Dayton, actually. And I
The
think
Carnival Cruise?
the Carnival Cruise
Oh,
one.
my gosh. I
Oh, you and Bill
remember
did.
that. At the Dayton Funny Bone.
So Dayton Funny Bone, and they brought the top 4 up on stage, and the prizes were a week on the Carnival Cruise Line, like getting like paid work, which is like $4,000. It's like it's a great paycheck, and then I think there was cash prize for second and third, and then fourth place was a Carnival Cruise Line duffel bag
Full of peanut M&Ms.
and I came in fourth place.
Do you still have the duffel bag?
No, I didn't even take it with me. I'm like, I don't want this.
I didn't come for the consolation prize.
I think I gave it to one of the audience members.
Do you remember who won? I think I was runner-up in that.
I think you were runner-up. I know John Wellington, who is he helped found the Cleveland Comedy Festival, was third place.
Yeah.
And then I want to say it was a black guy. I can't remember what his name was.
I wonder if it was Jesse Nutt.
Steve
No,
Harvey.
it was Marvin Todd. It was Marvin Todd.
Yes.
Marvin Todd won.
What was the prize you got for being the silver? What was the first runner-up prize?
I think it
was like $500.
Got a duffel bag.
Yeah.
But inside that duffel bag was money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
$100.
Probably $100. I actually thought I had a chance of winning that at the time because we just did 5-minute sets.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had, a decent 5 minutes that was mostly a 3.5, 4-minute story about the history of America as snacks. But like, I was concerned that I was going to win because if you win on the cruise, you have to do like 45 minutes to an hour of clean material.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to do another 45 minutes of like the Late Show dirty material, right?
Mhm.
And they want it to be different.
Yeah.
They don't want you just, dirtying up the same.
Yeah, you got to have
jokes.
2 hours.
You got to have 2 hours
on your hands.
And at the time, I think I maybe had 35 minutes if I was really lucky.
If you're
that
getting
was
the
clean.
laughs that you wanted.
Yeah.
It's 35
that was
minutes.
clean because I was never interested in being clean.
Yeah.
But that United Snacks of America bit of yours is like that's like Gaffigan's Hot Pocket. That's like a big, big hunk for you, right? Like people know that hunk.
That's one of the only jokes probably that's ever been yelled at me
Yeah.
from the 7 people that will come see me.
Is- Well, Ryan Singer and young Bill Squire, they're doing one show tonight, just a one-nighter. They're doing a 7 o'clock show tonight at Hilarities. And you can go to pickwickandfrolic.com for the details on it. But United Snacks of America, I think, is when people go, I know that guy.
That's
It's a great
by
bit.
far the most, like, it's got the most listens and all that. And I just commissioned, even though people for a decade have been asking me to do this, I finally just said, okay, fine, I'll pay for it. I'm getting it that bit. I hope by middle of January I'll have the animated version of that.
Really?
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
So I'm really excited about having that out.
Yeah.
With some great friends of mine who Jim Two's very funny.
Yeah,
comedian.
Yeah, we love Jim.
We were
Roots
just
here.
in Asheville together a couple weeks ago doing
So,
some comedy.
Jim is going to be doing the animation with my buddy Reed Failer. And
Is,
Reed, I saw
you know
Reed
Reed.
while I was down there too.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is when people start, because when people get ahead of your joke, which is what happens when they start yelling it out, if it's a signature thing or it has become that, right? Are you like, I can't do this anymore? They're ahead of me. I'm performing it for them or at them rather than for them.
Well, I would never dare to even try to put myself in like the same like that's the legend of Steve Martin retiring from stand-up because they didn't want new material, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that ever has really happened. And to be honest, it's been a while since I told. The last time I tried to tell that joke was in Durham, North Carolina. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago because somebody requested it from the audience, and I was like, okay, let's see if I can remember this.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down, and I'm forgetting parts of the
Right.
bit. And
It's like when the Stones haven't played a song in 40 years.
that audience member walks up on stage and fills in the parts of the
Okay,
bit
that's
that I
kind of
don't
hilarious.
remember.
That's
It was
awesome.
kinda
really
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
really fun moment, and then I would try to update it
And
on
then
the
they threw a
spot
can
with
of
like
beer
what's
at
happening
you.
now.
And
Yeah, and then I chugged that beer, and then I threw up because
Yeah.
I'm allergic to beer.
What a fun allergy that is.
And then
Um,
everybody in the audience started throwing up, and
Yeah.
then Stand By Me played.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I've got to give away this money here. Give me a second. It's a chance to go fund yourself. It's another $1,000 right now. You got a shot just about every hour. So listen closely and good luck.
The Buzzard wants you to go fund yourself and score $1,000. Enter the nationwide keyword dollar at WMMS.com. That's dollar. Enter it now at WMMS.com. And good luck from Buzzard Radio.
Ryan Singer is here. He and Bill Squire are doing a show tonight, right around the corner at Hilarities, 7 o'clock show. You can go to pickwickandfrolic.com. One of the most interesting things about Ryan, he does a podcast called Me and Paranormal You. You are all in on that otherworldly type stuff. We have the similar conversations on this show all the time because Bill and I are firmly in the no way camp. Mary's very much in the absolutely camp, right? We try to be curious without being judgmental. it can be very hard for us to do.
You try to be charismatic.
I do. It can be very
Although, if it's
hard
coming
to
from
do.
a white male, I feel like, okay, I'll believe it a little bit more.
It can be, but all of your stuff is kind of infused in that curiosity too, right?
For sure.
Was there a seminal moment for you where you were like, well, I got to start as a younger man, or a kid or whatever, or was it just like, this is interesting stuff?
I was always interested in the mystical, the supernatural, the paranormal because I was raised Catholic.
So was I.
And I had a grandmother who was like super Catholic, like would talk about, she went on like pilgrimages to like Medjugorje.
Lourdes and bring back the
water.
water.
So miracles were a part of life. I remember being a kid and she told me, she's like, one thing's for certain in your life. You will be visited by the Virgin Mary. I don't know if you're going to get married or if you're going to go to college, but I will tell you this. You will pay taxes and you will be visited by the Virgin Mary.
Death, taxes, and you get a visit from the Virgin Mary.
And then she
All
said,
I need is more virgins, Grandma.
But it was funny because she's like, but you'll know if it's the Virgin Mary or if it's Satan himself trying to pretend to be the Virgin Mary, because the Virgin Mary will be barefoot. And whenever Satan impersonates the Virgin Mary, he always has to have shoes on. And I was like, if he shows up wearing Crocs, I'm going to be like, I knew it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
it's hard to get shoes over those hooves.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you, I've always been, I was always like open to beliefs. Right.
Yeah.
And then as I grew older, I had some pretty profound paranormal experiences personally.
Right.
That just made me go from, I believe all this stuff is possible, to some of it is like, oh, well, this is real. What else is real? And then it becomes a quest for answers and also validation, so you don't feel crazy, right?
It's such a wild spectrum, though, because my line has always been, I don't know anything. I just know that there isn't enough evidence to support that belief. That's always been my line. I don't know anything. Are there aliens? I don't know. Do ghosts exist? I do not know. All I know is no evidence to support. Right. But there's such a spectrum because you think about all these people running around out there who are so willing to believe bananas things about the world around them. But if you were to ask them about ghosts or something, you'd be like, oh, absolutely not. There's no way that's, things that are right in front of them, they refuse to believe. But they're like, oh,
what are
it's a weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
What are those experiences? Are you open to sharing those, or are they more private?
No, I'm definitely open to sharing. And
you had a girlfriend who said she was a shapeshifter.
I had a girlfriend who could shapeshift, and but to the point you were just mentioning.
Listen, so did I, but that was like a whole.
Well, we're not.
She shifted into someone who hated me.
Yeah, the old line is just like, every once a month. Yeah. But I do believe in Bigfoot, but I also believe in climate change.
Yep.
And those aren't some people are
because that's what's going to drive Bigfoot out of hiding.
That's right. That's why it's such an important
deforestation.
issue.
I understand.
Bigfoot is losing its habitat.
That I can get on board with.
But I was this was probably over 15 years ago now. I was living in Los Angeles and I met this gal at an open mic night that I was running. And at the time I thought I used to tell people, I'm like, I think I got a lizard in my brain. I admittedly am kind of a weird guy.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Yeah. So and she's like, you're weird. And I was like, oh, yeah, people have told me that. And she goes, well, if you think you have a lizard in your brain, whether you're being serious or not, I can tell you about something that happens to me. And she told me, she's like, sometimes I change and I don't have control over it. And I'm like, oh, this sounds awesome. Right. And she's like, well, people say that until they see it and then they don't think it's awesome anymore. And it's kind of ruined my life.
Right.
Like my family.
This was
before.
Devil and then this was a girl. She became your girlfriend?
And so we started dating.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were like, I like the cut of your jib.
Right.
For now.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we were together one night and we had just been intimate together.
Yes. In flagrante delicto.
Yes. And I did not remember that detail until I saw her 10 years later and then she reminded me. And then I look over and she is a different person. She's a different woman in bed. And to the point where I'm like,
there were no controlled substances being consumed.
No controlled substance. And also, for the record, when it comes to paranormal experiences, I don't care if someone's on mushrooms or if they're drunk or if they're, been smoking marijuana. I don't think that dilutes experience, but that's a whole nother conversation. But so I look over and I see her as a different woman, and it's so drastic and it's such a stark difference that it's not even close to like, oh, you kind of look different from this angle.
In the dark or whatever, yeah.
It was, I've lost my mind. I've gone crazy. What's happened to me? nothing, I need to probably go to the hospital, right? And I start freaking out. And to the point where she's like trying to rock, I'm like rocking on the end of the bed, like back and forth. And the only thing that could get me grounded was I was like, where am I right now? It was like one of those moments where I didn't know where I was because it was such a shocking moment. And she goes, you're in my apartment. I was like, where's your apartment? She's like, it's in Los Angeles. I was like, where is Los Angeles? So we just kept zooming out.
At the Super 8 in Glendale.
Right. So we just kept going over and over and over again. And then I left. As soon as I got got it back together, I took off. And which was like almost immediately after we had.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
In delicto, chocolato.
In flagrante delicto.
Yeah,
there you go.
And so she was upset about that. I was upset about what had happened and how I reacted. I make it up to her. I beg for forgiveness. We continue to see each other. We're supposed to have a date. And then one night I get a voice or message that just says, can't do it. It's happened again. And I was like, not this time, baby. I am showing up this time.
Right.
Because I told her, I was like, oh, I think this is awesome. I think this is really cool. It's like a superpower. And she's like, well, that's what people say. And I'm like, I'm different. And then it happened. And I'm like, where am I? I'm not a person. I'm not a person.
Yeah, right.
So when she would change, though, like what physically she looked like a different person? Like her features would change? How?
On the first instance, she was, she's of Middle Eastern descent. And in the first instance, I rolled over and I saw a blonde-haired white woman.
Really?
That's why it was so stark and so different, right? And so the next time it happened, I have no idea the details of this event. I show up over at her apartment, even though she said, don't bother coming over. And she lets me in, and she's got this like huge baggy sweatshirt on. She's probably like 5'2" or something, right? And I go, tell me what's going on. And she goes, I was at work. And she was a rocket scientist. She worked for a satellite or like a space engineering company. And she goes, this woman at work is like getting ready to have a baby. And she's like super pregnant. And she walked by my desk. I remember thinking like, oh man, I wish I could experience that joy. And then she moved on. And I guess I was jealous or envious. And then about 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, I noticed my clothing is tight. And then a few minutes after that, I'm like, oh, it's real tight. And I look down, and she is becoming pregnant at work. And so she's like, as soon as I realized what was happening, I got out of there as fast as I could. And
so she was hitting you up for the abortion money.
Exactly. And I was like, I mean, I used to think that like, oh, I probably have good sperm, but I was like, this is really, this is a little too, I mean, because we'd only been dating
2-hour
for like
gestation,
about a month or
honey.
so.
I mean, yeah.
You know what it sounds like to me?
What a bundle of joy.
Sounds like you met the Virgin Mary.
You know what?
Oh,
I never put that together.
Well, that's what us skeptics are good for. We're listening to the details.
That is
so we're
really
not caught
funny.
up in all the other stuff.
Well, I wanted to see the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
As they say. And so she lifts up her sweatshirt, and it looked like she had swallowed a beach ball. And she looked 9 months pregnant. It was...
That's crazy.
Wild. It was like to the point, but this time I was, oh my God, this is amazing. We have to figure out, I'll try to do research and, but this was over 15 years ago. So the internet isn't, back then it wasn't what it is now. I couldn't Google like shape-shifting girlfriend.
You had to go to the library.
So there'd be like no results back then, but you Google that now and there's probably, who knows what you'll
bunch
end
of
up.
podcasts about it.
Exactly.
Like specifically.
So it's one of those things where we knew she wasn't really truly pregnant, right? So we had like a bottle of wine to celebrate.
Sure.
And then we woke up the next morning and completely back to normal.
Everything was as it was before.
Everything, yeah, exactly.
To be clear,
maybe she was also allergic to beer or wine, and it just gave her a real bad gas.
She was fermenting a small child.
Yeah, she was bloated.
To be clear tonight, Ryan Singer is a funny guy. He's not going to be doing a TED Talk on the paranormal.
No.
At Hilarities. This is just something that infuses his life and his experiences.
Yeah, and these topics and things like this, the paranormal, they do find their way into my act.
Yeah, sure.
But in a stand-up comedy show.
Yeah.
In a show that is very stand-up comedy driven.
Yeah.
It's just these topics. I'm not going to be up there telling you the difference between men and women. I'll be up there telling you the difference between space and time. Time's always like, give me a second. And space is like, I need some room.
Ryan Singer is doing one show tonight, 7 o'clock at Hilarities with young Bill Squire. You go to pickwickandfrolic.com for the details. He's Rysing on social media, RYSING. And don't wait so long next time to show up here.
For sure.
Yeah, good
Thanks
to see you,
for having
pal.
me. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Great seeing you.
Let me take a break here, and we'll be back. Anything you want to text, 35192.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7
WMMS. Rover's Morning Glory.
My lower back hurt, and I could not get comfortable. Like, the pain would not go away no matter what position I was in.
You think you could have just pulled a muscle in your back or something?
I don't have any muscles. I am the one human on the face of the planet with no muscle mass. Jeffrey, did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I'm just
I'm
saying, you
in
could've
all
done
of
it.
the